Hi, this is Attorney Mike Gravel coming to you from Chicago as usual, and today we're going to look at Sovereign Citizens number 3. Let's do it. Okay, this one's kind of fun. I ran across this video and it's really by a sovereign citizen, although he disputes it. He claims to not be a sovereign citizen, but I have studied with sovereign citizens, whatever that means. But some of this was just too good and I had to respond to it a little bit, and it's pretty fun. Okay, before we get started, I'm taking this from a video called Judges Owned, Why Sovereign Citizens Never Actually Lose in Court. You can tell already from the title it's going to be awesome. And by awesome, I mean deliciously awful. The channel is called Join the Progress, and it's obviously sort of a pro-sovereign citizen sort of thing. Please, please, please don't go over there and be nasty. Let's just enjoy it for what it is.
So something that is never addressed in all this sovereign citizen stuff, and especially all the videos that relate to judge sovereign citizen fails, as if sovereign citizens are losing in court all the time because they allegedly don't know what they're doing.
They are losing in court all the time because they don't know what they're doing. You can take the allegedly right out of that.
Let me preface that by saying I am not a sovereign citizen, but I used to associate with a lot of them, study with a lot of them. I'm just an ordinary, everyday guy.
I don't know. You sound like a sovereign citizen. At least sovereign citizen adjacent. Okay, I stole that from my days doing Better Call Saul videos. Links in the description below.
Who received a traffic ticket or two in my time and discovered the hard way that due process doesn't exist in courts. And this is the one point that all of the pro-cop people, pro-judge people cannot say anything against. Their major fail here. They will lose this argument every single time because it's an easily demonstrable fact.
Oh, do tell.
The reason why sovereign citizens never actually lose in court is because of what's called judicial immunity.
No, the reason why sovereign citizens lose in court is something called bad arguments.
Is that when you go into a court, a judge can render absolutely any decision he chooses. Absolutely any. With zero consequence, zero liability, zero responsibility. He does not have to worry about what his decisions are. There's even great case law on this. I've been in courtrooms, just to give you, I know this is anecdotal. You haven't experienced this. Everyone has to get out there and experience this firsthand for them to really see what this is about. I've been in courtrooms as witnesses for other folks where I have watched the judge say point blank to the person in the courtroom who is trying to exercise due process rights, "I don't like you. I hate you." You would think that would cause an immediate recusal from the case on the part of the judge, since of course he's biased against this person.
Well, that's interesting. I've been an attorney for 25 years now, and I think I've probably spent a lot more time in court than this guy, although I don't know. Maybe he's in court to being a witness or getting lots of traffic tickets, but I have never heard a judge say that once. I'm not saying it's never occurred. I do agree with him. If you say that you hate a litigant, I think you should recuse yourself. But I have to tell you, in my experience, that's extremely rare, or actually, in my experience, I've never seen it.
Who's trying to exercise their due process rights, but it does not. They simply say, no, I'm not going to recuse myself. I'm going to continue to hear the case. And I've even heard them say, and I'm going to find you guilty. It's hilarious. It really is. Judges have judicial immunity, folks. You have no due process rights because they can render any decision they want. They're not beating the sovereign citizens in court. By the way, they're not even supposed to be in a position of beating them ever. They're supposed to be an impartial third party.
No, they're not beating them. They're ruling against them because the sovereign citizens are wrong as a matter of law. They're making appropriate rulings against the sovereign citizens because the sovereign citizens are making bad arguments and the judges are doing their jobs.
But we all know that isn't the case when it comes to the sovereign types or anyone who attempts to assert due process rights. It does not happen. They instead assert themselves as their own self-appointed gods in their courtroom and say, no.
Nope, they're not self-appointed. They're appointed by somebody else or elected, mostly. And that's how they get the authority that they have in the position as a judge.
I'm going to decide whatever I please. You are guilty. Now, does the person possibly have remedy at the appeal level? Yeah, they perhaps do. You never hear about those wins, but again...
You never hear about those wins at the appeal level because the judge would always be affirmed on these things because, once again, the underlying arguments are no good.
At the appeal level, you're taking it again in front of a judge. Does that judge have discretion? Of course they do. Folks, the country is such a joke right now.
There's never been a time in the history of our country where judges did not have discretion to make judgments within their jurisdiction.
It's off the charts, and the ignorance on the part of cops especially, who don't understand this point, is so bad that it needs to be spoken about and spread around as much as possible. So look into the Commission of Judicial Conduct. This is an organization that polices judge, very much like how polices have their own internal investigations that are policed by whom? Other police officers. Of course, is there a bias there? Well, no, of course not. There can't be a bias there if police are policing other police officers, could there? So the Commission on Judicial Conduct, you have to look up the stats. You have to look at how do they discipline the judges who do something wrong. Do you ever, first of all, it is mostly made up of other judges, once again. So judges are judging other judges. Could there be a conflict of interest or a bias? No.
Frankly, you need judges to judge other judges, or at least attorneys, because lay people would not understand what they were doing and what they were facing and how to apply the law appropriately. It's as simple as that.
Of course not. So look up the stats and see what percentage of disciplinary action is ever taken against other judges. It is minuscule. I believe it falls under 1%. Do you ever hear about judges being prosecuted, folks?
Well, when I was coming up, we had a little something called Operation Greylord in Cook County, and a whole bunch of judges went to jail, lost their licenses, and had to leave the bench.
Of course not, unless there's a public outcry against the judge for grossly inappropriate behavior of some kind. Judges are never held responsible for their actions, neither criminally nor civilly, ever. Why? Because they have judicial immunity.
First of all, this is wrong. Judges get censured and have problems all the time. Every one of their decisions is subject to review on appeal. Not everyone, but almost all of them can be brought up on appeal. Almost every case that you've heard of is an appellate level case. And the whole point of the appeals court is to review what the judge did originally. So the entire process is set up for review of judicial decisions.
If they have judicial immunity, do they actually really need to understand anything about the law ever? Think about it, folks. Everyone thinks, well, the judges know what they're doing. They're making the right decision. That's why sovereigns lose all the time, because they don't know anything about the law, the sovereigns.
Finally you get it right. Yes, the sovereigns are losing all the time because they don't know anything about the law. That is correct.
If the judge has immunity and full discretion and is never ever held liable in any way whatsoever for his decisions, then what difference does it make how little he knows about the law? Judges can have massive levels of ignorance about the law and still render any decision they choose and never be held responsible for it. I'm going to include a fun article here on some of the New York courts. The level of ignorance on the judicial bench is enormous. Enormous.
Okay, there's some truth to the idea that there's judges that are better than others, like any other walk of life, but I don't think the alternative is to start believing horrible sovereign citizen arguments.
And yet, there's a select number of cops and judges out there posting videos claiming sovereign citizens are getting, quote, owned in court, or the sovereign citizen fail. How can they possibly be failing if the judge can never ever render an inaccurate decision because he can never be held liable for his ignorance? Just like you cannot deny that judges are judging themselves and that they have full immunity. Therefore, sovereign citizens are not losing in court. Now, by the way, when the sovereign citizens or the regular everyday folks who are attempting to exercise their due process rights are denied that in court and they take it to an appeal, how much does this cost the taxpayer? How much are these judges benefiting from by taking all these people through the system?
I can't even follow this conspiracy theory. A judge ruling against somebody because they think they're wrong as a matter of law, and that person deciding to go to the appellate court does not in any way help the judge. It doesn't really hurt the judge either, but there's not like a kickback for, like, getting more cases up to the appellate court. It's not how it works.
Hey, it's not the people's fault. This system was invented by the system itself, by the legislators, etc., etc. So it's certainly not the fault of the people who are trying to exercise their due process rights. It's the fault of the cops and judges who have immunities within their office and are not held responsible or liable, neither criminally nor civilly, for anything they do. Folks, it's so simple. And it's common sense and it's undeniable.
Well, that was fun. I was shocked by this video and just how slanted it is. I mean, he's certainly entitled to his opinion, and I'm entitled to mine, so that's why I responded to it. So he doesn't like the idea of judicial immunity. I got news for him. There's tort immunity throughout the government, and you can have good arguments about where those lines should be drawn. However, the notion that the judges are beyond reproach and cannot get in any trouble is wrong. They can be censured, they can be overturned on appeal, they can have their law licenses revoked, they can have all sorts of problems. Are they granted a level of power and given the benefit of the doubt? Yes, they kind of should be as well. By and large, I've dealt with lots of judges, some of them good, some of them bad, but overall, I would say that the judiciary is swinging, they're trying hard, they're trying to make the right calls. Here at Law Talk, we do a lot of videos answering common legal questions. We also do reviews of law in the movies and then on TV. We also share some of our more interesting cases. We're always putting out new videos. So if you like that, please hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell.